Well, hello there. This is a bit of a different recording atmosphere because we kind of had to leave the racetrack. So we had walked around most of the day. Same situation as yesterday. Rained pretty heavily with no chance of it really letting up. If anything, it got worse as the day went on. It's more so just waiting again on NHRA. They sent everybody home. It's just been torrential downpour all day long. And that's just kind of the atmosphere that we're in. So, weirdly enough, the final qualifying runs anybody made all season was back at Vegas in Q4, which is just kind of a weird fact to kind of end the season on. Doug Kalitta is now officially your top Fuel World Champion. He was going to be the champion no matter what really happened. It was going to be decided at the end of qualifying. As soon as he got the qualifying points, it was wrapped up and done. 3 championships are now still on the line. It's in a situation now where if Austin Prock wins round 1, he wins the championship. If Dallas Glenn wins round 1, he wins the Pro Stock Championship. And then for Pro Stock Motorcycle, it's a winner takes all. They're both on opposite sides of the ladder because due to the fact that there have been 0 qualifying sessions, it now is set by the point standings. And with that being said, now Doug Kalitta, number 1 qualifier, Austin Parker, number 1 qualifier, Dallas Glenn, and Richard Gadsden, all number 1 qualifiers. I believe from what I heard, Richard Gadsden and the Vampton Hines team were at Topgolf when the cancellation was announced. I don't even think the Elite Motorsports guys came into the track. Their trailers were pretty much empty all day long. That's just kind of the atmosphere that we're in. The only thing you feel real bad for are the Pro Stock teams and the Nitro Funny Car teams that do not get a chance to qualify and go home. The Steven Denchins of the world, the Jeff Deals of the world. Dale Worsham was supposed to be on that. A weird, kind of interesting story that has developed throughout the day was that Dale Worsham was on the entry list. However, for whatever reason, Dale Worsham came under the weather, so now Hunter Green is driving that car. So because of the fact that Hunter Green is higher in points than Jeff Deal, that means now Jeff Deal, who is 16th in points, is now out of the show. Hunter Green moves in with the Dale Worsham car, and Jeff Deal is packing it up as we speak, which is kind of just a weird way to end the season. It was kind of a weird question about how Hunter Green was on the entry list, or on the bracket for Sunday, but somehow he is. Same situation. We were able to get interviews. We talked with Richard Gadsden and NHRA, as well as Dallas Glenn and Greg Anderson, and we got a chance to hear from our newly crowned 2-time Top Fuel World Champion, Doug Kalitta. We'll listen to those interviews, and then we'll look ahead and look forward at the brackets for Sunday morning at Pomona. Alright, so back here on Saturday, it's still raining here at Pomona, so all we really got is time, so we made our trek down to the river to come talk to Richard Gadsden, your current Pro Stock Motorcycle points leader, here heading into the final race. You're heading into this race, one more shot at that championship. You're holding on to less than a one-round lead over your teammate, NHRA. You've had the week to get prepared for this. What is the emotions and the nerves feeling like rolling into this racetrack, knowing you're on the cusp of possibly winning your first championship?
That's a good question, man. Honestly, I haven't. I don't know if I sorted through all of them yet. I feel a lot of things. I feel contentment that, no matter what happens, not to allow the result of this one thing to define how I feel about my season. Also feel hungry, like I want to win it too. So it's a lot of different emotions. I think I feel different ones at different times. Mostly blessed to be here, blessed to be in this position. There's a lot of people in these pits that would kill to be 1 or 2. So I'm gonna have fun with it either way it goes, and I think that I had a hell of a season, and I'm going to continue to press forward with that same aggression that's gotten me here the rest of this weekend. Gage is going to be Gage. He doesn't have a chink in his armor, so perfection is what I'm going to have to be as well. So, hopefully we find a few hundreds that we were missing at the last race, and I think these are more, well, not these conditions, but the conditions that I'm anticipating when we do race are more in the area of where my crew chief's comfortable tuning. So I think we'll have fun with it, man. It's going to be pretty good.
And throughout this countdown, we've seen you have to reach that next level to bring the fight to Gage to compete for the championship. Back at Vegas, when you ran him in the semis, you had the perfect reaction time against him, but still came up short. But looking back at that perfect reaction time, what was it that you needed to do mentally for yourself to prepare for this, to where over the course of this countdown, like you said, we've seen that next level out of you. What does it take mentally to get yourself in the zone like that, to where you're not so much worried about the outside factors, but you're able to go on the start line and get those perfect reaction times to go out there and compete with them?
It's kill or be killed. pretty much. And I know that, especially when you're racing Gage or Matt or anybody really right now. I'm treating everybody the same, to be honest with you. That round I had a little bit more, and the amazing thing is that we both went up there and had lights like that, and they weren't by like some dumb luck. We were trying to do that. But like I said, the mentality is kill or be killed, man. That's all it is. It's you got to go up there and you're going to have to take these rounds. It's not going to fall in your lap. I don't have 3, 4, 500s in the bank over the next closest person. It's going to be perfection. As close to, it was a perfect light. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take that same thing this weekend when we get the race, and I'm prepared to do it. No matter what the outcome is, no matter if the light's red, whatever it is, I'm going to go up there and leave it all on the line to win this championship. And I think my competitors know it. They're going to need to be there too. So we'll see what happens.
And usually on a weekend when we're out racing, when it's not this raining, you're able to put out the back of your mind those outside thoughts of the championship, because you're always thinking that next round, that next session, what you need to improve on. But when you're in conditions like this where all you have is time and you don't really have anywhere to go to get those thoughts out of your head, how hard is that to stay mentally focused on not getting lost in the thoughts of thinking, what happens if I do this wrong? What happens if I do this wrong? And thinking ahead to getting in the emotions of an anxiety of winning a championship. How hard is that mentally to keep yourself focused like that, to not lose focus on what's ahead?
Sometimes you can be too focused. I think there's a fine line there where you think about it too much. And really you have to rely on the fact that when you go up there and the tree falls, you pop the clutch. You do what comes to you instinctively, naturally, habitually. And I've made 100 or 150 runs or whatever it is, and I've done it right 99% of that time. There's no reason for me to overthink this last one. You know what I mean? Like I've been able to operate in a pretty comfortable zone. I'm just gonna trust my instincts, man. And I got a little portable PlayStation PS5 portable thing. For the last 2 days, I've been sitting here playing Gran Turismo and NBA 2K and Madden, and just doing what I would do if I was sitting at home on my couch, and try not to think about it too much. That's what works for me. Somebody else may be in there on a practice tree right now, but I've prepared all year. I've prepared my whole life for this moment right now. I'm just going to go up there and do what I've been doing, and I think I'll be okay.
And you've had such a personal level with the season too, as well as your career developing to get to this point. One of the things you've been so adamant about is your position with the Bigs and Littles of America. You got recognized for an award this year for the accomplishment that you have with bringing them out there to the racetrack, and you've been so open about what it means to you to get to be that representative for them, for someone to look up to. You had the thought, I just want to bring a Wally to them. What would it mean now, next season, to have the possibility of rolling into tracks like Chicago and Gainesville and getting to bring that big red trophy and saying, this is what you can do?
Man, it would mean the world. It would be, so it adds another layer to the story. Like I always say, the story that I told them this year was about getting to the level, getting to chasing your dream, getting to live it. Being able to get the ultimate trophy, we'll say get to the pinnacle of the mountain, would definitely change a little bit about what I tell them. It doesn't only just mean a lot for that, for that story. It would mean a lot to my family, and it's so multi-layered. It's just, I don't even know how to put in the words what the magnitude would be for me. So, I don't even know what I'd say to them about it. It would sound so cliche to them, but I always say it's different when you can put action with the words. You can stand in front of a group of kids and say a whole bunch of things, but when you can show them, hey, this is the result of me being just like you, I think that adds an extra stamp onto it.
And then looking ahead to Sunday, I know we talked a lot about not doing that, but with the rain that we have forecasted, the position that we're in right now is that the ladder would be set by rain. One of the big storylines coming into this is the possibility of you two being on the same ladder and this being a head-to-head matchup in the semifinals. How much of a sigh of relief is it now knowing that if it does rain and this does get set by points, you both are going to be on opposite sides of the ladder to where this would come down to a final round showdown for the finals? Yeah,
and I want to make it clear. I said all that stuff, but you do still think about it. You do still kind of play scenarios in your mind. We're professional. I say we're professional athletes. It's our job to know these scenarios and the possibilities, and that would be be the best possible scenario for me for if it does continue to rain and they set the field off points. It will put us on opposite sides of the ladder, obviously, which is good because it won't be a situation like Vegas. Let's just say we don't find the performance that we were lacking in Vegas, and I end up fourth, and he's first, or I'm fifth, or whatever the case may be. Then that puts us on the same side. I think that the drama filled, what's all led up to this moment, it deserves to be a final round matchup, winner take all scenario. I think that it deserves that. That doesn't mean that we'll even get there. Even being on opposite sides of the ladder, there's a lot of tough people that we have to get through on our way. You know, the MSR team is always fast here at Pomona, and I think people forgot that. Matt was the fastest bike here last year by somewhat of a comfortable margin. Angie has got a rocket ship right now, and John Hall and Gianna are both wild cards. John's had a great season, so it doesn't mean that we'll both get to the finals, but it means that if it does come down to mano a mano, me versus Gage, I'd like it to be the last race of the season, the last pass of the season.
And then on the opposite side of it, we don't have to go far for the interview for second place because, of course, he's in the same trailer as Richard Gadsden, sitting here with the Gage era, two-time Pro Stock motorcycle champion, looking to go for the three-peat here this weekend. You currently sit less than a round outside of Richard Gadsden's points lead, looking for a shot at that third title heading into this weekend. What's the nerves feeling like, knowing this is the first time you've really had to run for the championship, but knowing that as well as your teammate has to get a little bit of a different layer of this, knowing that even if you do lose, it's not going anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first year I'm really not nervous, or I'm actually enjoying it. Winning the championship in 23 and 24, 23. With us dominating it, it really didn't feel. It was like, and being my first season, it was definitely surreal. But like at the same time, it didn't feel very deserving. Me and Andrew always talk about that. I mean, yeah, it's deserving, but we really didn't have to work for it too hard. We had an awesome bike, and we just came out here and dominated. And so this year, being between me and Richard, it's been a lot of fun. Basically comes down to the rider and who wants some more at that time. Like when we faced off in Vegas in the semifinals with our reaction times and stuff. He had a perfect light to my 005. It just shows how bad we both want it. And it just comes down to every little incremental, and it's been a lot of fun. And I actually enjoy chasing more than I being chased. So it's I've been enjoying it.
You talked about that race back in Vegas semifinal. I talked to Richard about it, having that triple zip reaction time to go out there and face you, but you're able to ride around and me with a 005. So even when it comes down to thousandths of a second of reaction time, to know that you have the performance of that bike of what Andrew puts behind you, how much of a confidence booster is that, knowing that even if you slip just a little bit on the tree, you still have enough power to ride around even your own teammate?
It's a definite confidence booster, but at the same time, sometimes my bike's faster than his, sometimes his is faster than mine, so it's just like, we never know how it's going to play out. I mean, he even out 60-footed me that run, but I just happened to travel from 60 to 330 a little better than him, carried it to the finish line. So it's just, it's one of those things, us as riders, we got to go up there and be on our game. That's just, we push these bikes to the limit, to the point where anyone could be quicker. So I feel like that's what makes us so good as riders, and being on the same teams, we know what kind of machinery we got, and we know what we got to do at the same time. So it's always I would say a coin flip between us.
And coming into this race, it's mano a mano between two teammates. You obviously have Andrew as a guidance counselor, and so was same for Richard with Eddie. What's the advice been like from Andrew heading into this weekend, knowing that he and Eddie had to do this multiple times throughout their careers, and now for the first time you're having to do this against your own teammate, where it's this close in a championship battle, to where no matter what happens, it's going to matter depending on who goes further in the rounds, and there's still a solid chance that this could go down to the final round on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, we're all good friends, but when we're on the starting line, Andrew always passes me on the back, says go whoop his butt. It's just one of those things. Even though we're teammates, Andrew said it yesterday. It came down between him and Ed many times, but they're good friends until they go on the starting line. Everyone, that's the difference. We all want it very bad. It's just, even though we want the team to win, we still want to win it for ourselves. So it's definitely, he just, him and Ed both, they just always say just go out there and have fun, and but let the best bike and best rider and all that win. And I'm glad it's going to come down between us.
And then looking back throughout this countdown and what got you to this point, heading into the countdown before the race day, you had a massive lead heading into it, and then Reading happened, which you've opened up in the past that you'd rather just Reading be off the schedule entirely. Looking back at this, how much do you think back to that round 2 loss you had at that racetrack that cost you to where now you're in a position where even though you like being the chaser, I bet you like more having that bigger gap heading into this race? Just how much do you think about that race in particular when you come into this thinking it's all could have changed if that one round had gone any differently?
Yeah, I definitely think about that a lot. You know, I feel like this whole season is after when the countdown started has really made me had to go in a different mindset. You know, with losing early in Reading and then going to Charlotte, losing first round, and then in Dallas in the semis won with red. It's really it's made me have to focus a lot more on going up there and not having as many mistakes, or it's just one of those things. I mean, I always say drag racing is like gambling. You can be up a couple hands and all of a sudden you lose it all. It's just one of those things. You think you got it in the bag and then it slaps you in the puts you in the ground real quick. So it's definitely taught me you just got to keep it your head on your shoulders solid and just go out there and do what you can. It's going to end up how it's going to end up.
And then I talked to Richard about this too. When you're on a normal race weekend, you have that scenario where you don't really have too much time to think about anything else other than that next round and that next session and what you need to change heading into that to improve. But when you're in a position like this to where all you have is time and all you have is time to think about what's going on outside the racetrack and what's going on racetrack and what you're thinking about in the points, how difficult is that to want to stay locked in but also not getting too lost in your own head thinking about what could cost you a championship?
No, it's definitely hard. It sucks to be at the racetrack and to sit around watching the rain, and it's hard. I feel like it's hard to stay focused. It kind of gets you into the relaxation mode, which we come here focused and ready to go out there and do battle. But it's just one of those things. We just got to wait it out and hopefully get back in the zone when it's time to race.
And then final question, you talk about the 2 championships prior to this. You're coming into this knowing that you're going to have to outride your teammate possibly in the final round. If all that's going on, would this championship mean the most to you, or would the 23 or 24 title mean more to you comparative to what you've had to do to get to that point?
This one will definitely mean the most to me if I was able to pull it off. I just there was a lot of battles this year, and I feel like there's no better championship to win than coming down to the last final round or whenever, but the last race. It's like seeing the battle between Dallas and Greg Anderson last year. It was winner take all. I mean, it's just there's nothing more exciting than that. So I'm glad it's like that this year.
All right, standing here, Pro Stock Points leader Dallas Glenn heading into the final race of the season. Greeted with some not so nice conditions, but for you, this is kind of exactly what you need to kind of win this championship. If Greg had enough qualifying sessions close in the points, you would have had to go to the semis, but as it stands right now, you just need to get to the first round. That's got to feel somewhat happy for you, knowing that with the weather conditions, it gives you a better chance to lock this up and not have to worry about this coming later in the race.
Yeah, definitely. I was one of the few that if it does completely rain out qualifying, I'm not going to be 100% disappointed because it does make it a little bit easier for me. But I want to get out there and drive. I want to make sure the car is going to go A to B, and just going up there for first round with 0 runs, with all that pressure on the line, you're still going to have to perform and make sure everything goes right. So it does still add that little bit of pressure to it, but it definitely makes it harder on Greg Anderson for sure. You never know about those second round matchups sometimes. So, but definitely way better coming in this year than last year. Last year I had lost the lead coming into Pomona. Now I've got the lead and I've got it by a good bit. So we just need to go up there and capitalize and keep doing what we've been doing.
You talk about the emotions after last year, having to think about that for an entire season. You've had a week between Vegas and now just to think about all that heading into this race. Where are you at mentally as you enter this race, knowing you're on the cusp of that first championship? You're in a much better position to actually get your hands on it than you were last year, knowing that all you need to do now is get one win lane and then it's done. You win the championship.
Me, I'm just really eager to get out there. Last year I had a lot more nerves. It was kind of the first time I was really in that championship, real solid contention to win a championship, and I can tell you the nerves are real. It takes a lot out of you. It takes a toll on you. But this year I feel a lot more relaxed. I don't know if it's just because I've got such a great car from KB Titan, or if it's just the experience from last year kind of help me out. So I'm definitely feeling good. I'm just really eager to go out there and start making laps.
You know, we talked to Richard and Gage about this. When you do have these normal race weekends where you have the 4 sessions of qualifying, you don't really have too many opportunities to think about anything other than that next session and what you need to improve to get this car where you need it to be, so that way you're in a better position for Sunday. But when you're in situations like this where all you have is time to think, how hard is it to kind of keep those thoughts from floating into your head and thinking about outside things that you can't really control, whether your car shakes its tires early in the run, or you don't have a good qualifying run, or you have a bad round one? How hard is it to not think about those things when all you have to do is really just sit around and think about something other than what you got to do to this race car?
Well, definitely, I try to keep myself busy around here. You know, I don't want to just sit there and think about that. So there's lots of stuff that I'm doing. You know, I had some other little small projects to catch up in the trailer, and you just try to keep myself busy, and it keeps me from doing that. And I think that's one of the good things about working on my race car too, is during the races, you know, I'm doing the clutch, I'm doing the transmission, I'm helping with rear gears, so I kind of keep busy and I don't think about, you know, all those little things that can go out there and affect you. So I just, you know, kind of keep my head down, stay busy. Yesterday we went bowling, and that kind of helped. You know, as a team we all went out and had fun bowling. Today we might go do go-karts. So I don't know. We're just going to try to stay busy and not think about that stuff.
Are you going to try to make it easier for yourself and put Greg in the wall this time?
You know, I don't think I don't want to beat him like that. So, but either way, I just need to go out there and do my job. But you know, as far as go-karts, I think me and Dave Connolly got $20 on fastest lap time.
All right, and then looking back at Vegas, this is something that Brian Lones pointed out in the NHRA Insider podcast this week. When you got out of the car after that Vegas final round, you kind of said that was it. That was kind of what you needed. Heading into that, looking back at that win, does that kind of just take the weight off your shoulders, knowing that everything that you really needed to do to prepare for this weekend happened, and that it's just a little bit easier for yourself than having to worry about, you know, maybe having to go to a second round? Does that race really mean that much to you in this championship run?
Oh, absolutely. You know, beating Greg Anderson in the semis there is a huge swing. At minimum, that's a 40-point swing, possibly a 60-point swing right there. So you can go from 92 points to 32 points really quickly, and that definitely could, you know, mean the difference. Whereas, you know, if it goes down to 32 and I don't make it to the final and Greg wins the race, and, you know, making it to a final round is not something that's easy to do, especially in a countdown with the competitors that we have now. So getting that, you know, 40 to 60-point swing, it definitely takes a lot of the pressure off. And now I can just go out here and try to go out here and have fun and win the last race.
And then looking ahead to tomorrow, we talk about, you know, wanting to keep those thoughts of winning a championship outside of your head. But if you are able to pull this off and you do get to secure that first championship, just what would that mean to you personally, looking back on your career, to be able to go from that guy dreaming about it being in a position like this to where now you do get to secure that first championship? Just what would that mean to you?
Oh, that definitely mean a lot. You know, when I first started driving with Rad Torque Systems here at KB Titan Racing, I always knew I was capable, but, you know, going out, knowing that you can do it and going out and do it are a whole nother thing. And it's really hard to go out there and actually win one of these championships. And I've been really close several times, extremely close last year. So to go out here and actually finally get it done is going to feel like a whole lot of weight off my shoulders to know that I can do it. And, you know, they always say the first one's the hardest. So hopefully after that we can just keep the string rolling.
And then sitting here with second place in points, Greg Anderson, 6-time Pro Stock champion. That's a fair thing to add to that as well. You headed into this race, you talked about all year long that the goal is just to get KB Titan that championship. Now that's pretty much secured. It's going to come down to somebody within these two trailers. But I do got to think, even though the championship's coming back to North Carolina, it's still going to be a little bit of an irk. It's like, it should be me, dang it.
Yeah, I can't lie. Yes, we're if you'd have told us this at the beginning of the season, that it would come to the last race of the year and it would only be Dallas, Glenn, and myself available for the championship, we'd all signed on for that. We've been happy as could be. Now we're here, and we're selfish. I'd call it what you want. We both certainly have an ego. We all want to go out and win races. We want to win championships. So, yeah, it's fun right now, but it matters. It matters if I win or Dallas wins. So, you know, I can't say enough about the job he's done all year. He's done fantastic, as he has for the last 3-4 years. He probably should have won a couple of these already. So somehow I've held him off for the last couple of years. This year the task is tall, man. I got to dig myself out of a heck of a grave, and unfortunately, lightning's pretty much got a strike for Dallas to lose. So I wouldn't bet on that if I was a betting man, but they still do have to race on the racetrack, and anything can happen. So I will not quit until they tell me it's over and Dallas is the champion. But if it does go that way, my hat's off to them. Great job, and great job for KB Titan. But there's still some on-track racing to go, and as I say, you just never know what can happen at drag racing.
And then we talk about going into this weekend, one of the storylines was you needed those qualifying sessions to really make it easier to make it from a first-round win like to where you would have to go to the semis. Now that you're sitting here, it's kind of a shut and closed case. It's going to get set by points. How much of it's kind of like that little bit of an irk does it give you, knowing that it's not going to, like you said, come down to where only one win light in the first round is going to decide how this season goes?
Yeah, it's definitely knocked a little bit of the excitement off for me because I thought my chances were real. You know, if I could get it to 3 rounds, and basically meaning Dallas would have to lose second round instead of first round, there's a little bit more of a chance of that, you know. But pretty much nowadays, the competition in this class, absolutely, positively, usually first round, but by the time you get the second round, pretty much everybody's all equal, and anybody can beat anybody. So it could happen, absolutely could happen. But now with, you know, this crazy deal of the weekend that LA is going to wash into the ocean, not good for Greg Anderson, but it is what it is. I can't fight Mother Nature. She is what she is. She's tough, and she's going to win this weekend, but just made my challenge even tougher. But it still doesn't mean it can't happen. It still can happen. Just the odds got stacked a little bit farther against me.
You know, you talk about the can and will happen situation of the part of the championship fight. I've talked to Richard, talked to Gage, I've talked to Dallas. All these guys are kind of young and they're still trying to get into it. You've been in the position more times than you can count. How do you mentally prepare yourself to where knowing that you do have to go into a race day where you have to pray that Dallas goes out the first round, but also knowing you need to have one of the best weekends of your career if you want to break that and become a 7-time world champion?
Yeah, well, the simple truth is, if I go out there and don't execute and mess up, it doesn't even matter what Dallas does. He could lose first round, and I could lose first and second round too. So I have to find a way to race my own race. I'm on the opposite side of the ladder of Dallas if the field sets like it is, so I couldn't even see him till the final round. But I have a lot of other landmines on the way to find my way. I've got to get to victory circle either way, no matter what Dallas does. So 2 things got to happen. I got to find a win a race, and then Lightning's got to strike on that rad car over there and call order. But that's the game plan going in. You got to have that mindset that it can happen, and don't make a small mistake that eliminates any chance of all those things coming together. It's like a parlay bet. I need a parlay bet to come together on Sunday, so don't drop your end of the bargain. You know what I'm saying? So that's up to me. I got to execute what I do, and the rest is up to the guys.
And then one of the storylines of this as well is you guys have had such a dominant season on both sides of the trailer, and then you had the passing of Ken Black midway through the season. His name is on both of your doors. How important is that to you to get to have a season like this where you guys dominate pretty much every single race of the countdown? You're guaranteed 1 and 2 in the points, and then you just came off of Las Vegas where you had the return road named after him. How important is that to you to get to have this dominant of a season with everything surrounding it?
Absolutely. That's special to all of our hearts over here. Obviously, either Dallas or I would be racing pro stock right now if it wasn't for Ken Black. He's the one that created this race team. He's the one that gave us the opportunity. Picked a guy, myself, out of a crowd of 100 people, and said, I want you to run my race team and drive my race car. And a great day for me, and we've tried to make him proud for the last 20 years. So, yeah, so a bummer we lost him this year, but we don't feel like he's gone. We feel like he's still watching over us. It's still his race team. He created this over here, and he created what pro stock is today, I guess. So we owe the world to him, and every day we go out and race, we try to honor him, and that's why his name's on the door, on the race car doors of both race cars, because we feel like he's riding with us anyway. So it's just a great, great man. Everybody that knew him knows what kind of man he was and what he did for the sport of drag racing, and in particular the class of pro stock. So we only wanted him.
And then it's on a bit of a positive note. We talked about the week between Vegas and now. You got to do something fun to get ready for next season. A new race being announced, not so much NHRA, but on national event scene. You have a new home track on the schedule. You get to go to Rockingham Drago. You get to return to the Rock. How exciting is that for you to get to go to that racetrack, knowing how many passes you've had there, but also the history that you have at that racetrack?
Yeah, it's cool for me because I'm one of the few out here that remembers what Rockingham used to be, and raced at Rockingham for many, many years back in the day with R.J. Reynolds and the Winston Invitational. That's where I first got my first chance to drive a race car, was at the Winston Invitational, I think in 1997, at The Rock. So it's where it all started for me, and a lot of history there. Most of the people that are still out here racing, I guess I've outgrown them all. They don't remember The Rock, but they're going to find out when they get there what a cool place it is and how much history it's got. It's going to be a really, really special event. I kid you not. And you know, when we got the word dropped down to us that we were dropping the fall Charlotte race, obviously that was a crusher to me. That's my home track now. That's where I live, where all my family is. And the next best thing happened for us. Rockingham came on a schedule. It's a short 2-hour drive. I test there every other weekend, so I certainly know the racetrack well. And I'm telling you, when everybody gets there and experiences that, just that feeling that you get going there, it's like going back in time a little bit. It's a throwback race, is what I'm going to call it. People are going to love it. It's going to be a fantastic event, so absolutely a great day when they announced that.
Well, and you talked about that crash back at Reading, and we talked about the consistency that this team's had over the last half of the season, but can you speak on kind of just the resilience that this team has shown? Because you still went to the finals despite crashing that car, but the ability for this team to just jump over every hurdle that's in front of them has just been absolutely incredible to watch.
Yeah, that's our spare car. We were going to run it in Vegas testing, and then it just didn't work out, so we really hadn't ran that car, but it was all ready to go. And yeah, we went out there and it went down the track. Everything worked on it, so it was definitely a tribute to the guys. You know, I guess with Reading, you know, obviously we ended up having a wire that had broke on the car, and you know, went out there and the clutch controller didn't work. But I have to admit, Sean Reed winning that race, you know, that was pretty cool. I have to admit, to race against somebody to get their first win and just see, you know, everything that he had gone through this year too, with you know, that wreck that he had. And I was racing against him that day, you know, when he wrecked that thing. I guess it was in Seattle, but no, that was. I'm glad we didn't need that particular round to win the championship, because it was definitely cool to see him win.
And then did you put a reminder on your phone this year to not leave the trophy behind when you leave the track?
That is definitely on our list. That was a knucklehead move for sure. But yeah, we fortunately got it back. And but yeah, I was like, whatever, I guess somebody will grab this thing because it's too heavy for me to carry, and nobody did. So anyways, but no, I appreciate all you guys. You know, I know been out here a long time, and appreciate all your support for sure. It's definitely means a lot to me and my family to be able to get 2 of these things.
One of the big stories entering this weekend and for the whole season is the fact that after this race, Toyota is leaving the sport. You guys have been close to a 20-year relationship with them. To be able to finish this season off and give them one last championship on your way out the door, how important is that for you and your whole team? Yeah,
we had a get together Thursday night, and they brought it up, you know, that just bringing up our championship and then the opportunity we had here this weekend, and you know, it was definitely something they recognized for this year. And they actually are, you know, we were selfishly, Brian was like, he did a great job talking, you know, on our behalf with the NHRA, and selfishly we're hoping that they will, you know, end up coming back one of these days. But obviously they've done a lot for us out here, and they'll definitely be missed for sure.
All right, so I was going to show the ladders, but because of how crazy everything has been, there still hasn't been any posted, so I'm not sure about the official lineups because of the fact that not all the top 16 in points are here, so it's kind of a jumble mess of who's facing who. So I don't have anything to show you right now. When those do officially get released, I will make the graphics. I'll post some sort of the ladders in the community page on this channel. So if you go to the channel itself, there's a community page on the end where all the posts are. I post updates there all the time. I'll post those there. Just to kind of highlight of how crazy everything is, to show you just how, you know, much of a mess this all is. So take a look behind me. There's 3 mountains back there. You can't see them. I didn't even realize that until I really looked back when I was looking for the ladders. You can't see it. There's one literally right behind that warehouse over my shoulder. I don't know if you can see it through that camera, but Yeah, this is just an unreal weekend. I talked to a couple of people that are local out here, and they said, there's always one big rainstorm a year, and NHRA usually avoids it. Just this time, it hasn't happened. But apparently, through most of Los Angeles, the highway system is a mess just because of the flash flooding. There's been landslides reported all over SoCal. So, I mean, this has just been an act of God kind of weekend, and this rain is going to continue all the way until 11 in the morning tomorrow. It's scheduled that Nitro is going to go off at 10 in the morning. I would not expect, because of the fact the rain's not supposed to stop till 11:30. It takes 2 hours to start a track. We're not going to be on track till 1. It's going to be an interesting time tomorrow. It's going to be a get up and go mode tomorrow. Do I think we're going to get the race in? I hope so. I hope I flew all the way out here to see something. I did get to hear some rumor mills for the off season. I can't speculate too much on what those is, because a lot of them are still unconfirmed, but they have some pretty solid grounds from what I've been told. All I can say is be tuned for this off season. We have a lot to talk about. There is a lot of announcements that still need to be made, and all I can really hint at, they're kind of ground shaking. It's going to change kind of the face of how this sport looks. A lot of big names in different places, so just be ready, because the action doesn't stop. We're going to have a lot to talk about between now and even into PRI. There's announcements that are going to come out before PRI, and then there's going to be more announcements at PRI. So we have a lot to look forward to over the course of the offseason. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize if the content is not to the same level that I usually have it. You don't win them all. This has been the first time in a long time that I think, it's from what I heard in the media, it's like the first time that all 4 pro sessions were set by points. So again, just a crazy weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to our buddies at Peak Performance who have sent us out here and are powering all our content here this weekend and throughout the entirety of the NHRA season. I have such a great relationship with them. I can't wait to see what we have in store for them for 2026. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Be sure to comment down below who your thoughts are and who's going to be winning the 3 remaining championships on Sunday afternoon, who you think is going to win the race as well, and maybe speculate yourself on who these big moves are going to be. Be sure to follow me on all social media pages down below. Mighty Mac 03 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And until tomorrow night, hopefully from the Pomona Fairplex, this has been Mighty Mac. We will see you next time.